Hi, I'm Paul Dayton, and my website's pauldayton.us. Thank you for being here. I am here to talk to you today about a book, a quick book review for this book right here. It's called John D. Rockefeller by Allan Nevins. It's an abridged version of two books he wrote about John Rockefeller of Standard Oil, perhaps the greatest company in the history of the world. A company that did so much to uplift the least money people, not only in the United States, but all over the world. Uh, in a variety of ways. One of which is making energy more affordable. Right? Standard Oil was an oil or an energy program superior to anything that the any government has ever done. Despite access to unlimited access to resources and people and unlimited authority. Uh, Nonetheless, this in the 19th century, this company in an era of relatively free and unregulated uh, competition benefited the poor so much, and of course was shut down and dismantled by a supposedly populist government, the Trustbusters. Uh, all that's covered in this book. I mean, think about John Rockefeller himself was a man who was born a very penurious condition. His father was a flim-flam man, a dirtbag, a bad joke, the old snake oil salesman going from town to town, running like the Three Stooges, being shot and chased out of each town, different name, all that stuff. That was Rockefeller's father. That's the situation in which he was raised. And this man grew up to be a great man. He was good to his church before he had any money. He was very charitable. And even after he started to have money, he was still extremely charitable. Uh, in that way. He volunteered at his church. He would go at Standard and haul wheelbarrows full of ash sometimes if they were short people just to keep things going. This was a guy who would work, who was not afraid to get his hands dirty, had ran a great company, uplifted the masses so much. Think about kerosene lamps, making those affordable. Those were relieving the tyranny of the earth, the tyranny of nature, so that people could work after the sun went down indoors. They could read and be productive. That was something that was only a luxury of the so-called rich before Rockefeller's company came along. The size of his company was necessary because when you had, I mean, one of the negatives of unregulated competition is it's something necessary so that the cream can rise. Is how the market sorts itself out, and the most efficient people are decided that way. But his company, frankly, was more austere and and more responsible. So these irresponsible people chasing a quick buck would work themselves into bankruptcy. And Rockefeller would be there and say, "Look, I have a good company, I have a good organization, I have a good way of doing things. You have this pre-existing infrastructure which you have screwed up and run into the ground. I'll offer you a price." Usually a generous price, by the way. He would add that to his company, keep most of the people on at the former company so long as they would get with his program. And in that way, is the greatest bailout program, greatest energy bailout program in the history of the world. This private business, this private company. And of course, he covers the populist movement, false accusations, people just hating him because he's superior to them, and just attaching all these unsubstantiated claims, which those who simply hate their betters but don't care about uplifting the poor and simply wrap themselves in the veneer of concern for the least moneyed as an excuse to attack their betters. Consequences for the poor be damned. Uh, those people came around and started a movement against his company, which culminated with the shameful 1911 episode before the Supreme Court, in which the company was dismantled. All actual factual evidence was disregarded, and the prejudices of the justices carried the day. His personal life was in here as well, his relationship with his family, all that stuff. So, if you want one book about Standard Oil and Rockefeller, you only have time in the next year or so to read one book. I recommend this one, John D. Rockefeller by Allan Nevins. My name's Paul Dayton. My website's pauldayton.us. I cover Standard Oil in my second book, Socialism, the Gift That Keeps on Taking. So check that out if you're interested as well. Thank you and have a great day.